I've been sitting here enjoying some salsa that I have just made. I mean, some really good stuff. Banging delicious. Folks, I'm talking really good stuff. I have these all canned up. They're going to stay on the shelf. They'll be ready for me to use when I've used this one up. This one, I'm going to put in the fridge. Because I'm going to be using that and it's good. So I'll tell you what, give this recipe a try. You're going to really enjoy the video too. It's kind of a neat process. And the boring parts, I'm going to try to speed up through those real quick. Okay, so check this out. It's neat. And it's delicious. Hey, I have been getting ready to make some salsa. And this is going to be a part of that whole canning process that I promised y'all that I was going to be doing videos on. But also a really cool recipe for salsa. Now, this is not my recipe. This is a recipe that came from this book right here. This is the Ball Guide to Preserving, the blue book. This is their, 38th edition. So I'm going to be using one of their recipes. We don't have to worry about copyrights because, folks, you can't copyright a recipe. Trust me, I know. I've already tried. The Library of Congress will not copyright any recipe, even one in a book. Now, the book can be copyrighted, but the recipes within, they're still not copyrightable. So if you take that out of that book, then it's just a recipe. And that's what we're going to use today. It's their jalapeno salsa. It looked like a really good recipe. There's not really much of any changes I'm going to make, with the exception of I'm going to go a little lighter on the oregano than they did. And because I know how oregano tastes and how much to use, and the amount it shows is going to be more than my taste buds prefer. All right, so it's just one of those things when once you've learned how to really use spices and herbs the right way, you kind of learn to gauge them. And that's one of the things I kind of like to teach y'all. But also I wanted to teach in this new season how I just get in the kitchen and do stuff, all right? So anyway, I've got some onions right here. They're out of the garden. They just came in. They've still got dirt on them. And I've got some fresh tomatoes. Hang on, let me get these. Wow, this thing is heavy. These are tomatoes from my garden, folks. Now, these are from the grocery store. These are jalapenos. My jalapenos haven't grown up and they haven't started producing yet. They're flowering, they're just not, we're not there. Anyway, tomatoes. I've got a bunch of tomatoes coming in because this is a mere handful compared to what's in the garden. So anyway, I've got to get busy making some tomato dishes, getting this stuff put into jars and getting my canning done. Let me pull some of these out real quick. I don't know if that's going to be enough or too much or whatever, but I've got tomatoes. We've got lots of jalapenos. This recipe calls for 3 cups of diced tomato, 3 cups of fine diced jalapeno, 1 cup of diced onion, and then some herbs and spices like cilantro, Mexican oregano, or just oregano as it says. Also, let me see, what else was on that? Cumin, salt. There's some vinegar, apple cider vinegar. And so it's a pretty basic recipe. Now the processing on this is pretty simple. I combine all the ingredients in a pot, bring them to a boil them for 10 minutes. Ladle that into hot jars, pint-sized jars of what I'll be using. Same size as this right here. And once the pint-sized jars are filled up, we're going to put those into a water bath canner. Lids on the whole bit, going to cover it, boil it, and it's going to be boiling for 25 minutes. Now the recipe says 15 minutes, but I have to add an extra 10 minutes for my altitude. Remember, you have to adjust recipes on these books for your altitude. And it tells you about that, and it tells you how to do it. So pretty cool thing. Like I said, I promised that as I'm learning this, I want to do it with you. And so here we go. Let's start to make salsa. Now here's this was my, there's always the carrot and the stick. So here's my carrot. Okay, this is a salsa that I really like. It's made right here in Texas. It's got tomatoes, tomato juice, calcium chloride. By the way, calcium chloride, that's a preservative. And it's a type of salt that's used for preserving. It helps to maintain color and crispness on vegetables. So it's a really cool thing to have. The ball pickle crisp, this is a lot of ball stuff going on here. That pickle crisp is calcium chloride, okay? That's all that is. So you can use that, or if you have a cheaper way of getting calcium chloride, go with it, do with what works best. Next item on the list here was citric acid. I've got that. Onions, serrano peppers, cilantro, tomato paste, some garlic, salt, lemon juice, and distilled vinegar. Not a whole lot different from this recipe over here. This is meant to be more liquidy. This, I think, is going to be probably a little more chunky, this recipe. I'll see. We'll find out together, won't we? But what I'm looking for is just a really good salsa to replace that, because that stuff and a lot of other salsas, they've gotten really expensive, folks. These items that come prepared in jars for you, they've gotten pricey. This is a little over $4. So I'm going to be making 3 jars this size. That would be the equivalent of 12 bucks worth of salsa, right? Tomatoes from my garden. Jalapenos I had to buy. These weren't very much. I think they were like 40 cents a pound. Onions from my garden. A little bit of vinegar, some spices. Speaking of, the nice thing about having well-stocked pantries, you have all of your items there, everything. I can't recommend enough keeping certain items around, spices, salts, things like that. Those can just sit on the shelf for long periods of time and they're just fine. So you don't have to worry about them. Keeping that stuff constantly at a good level allows you to produce all kinds of absolutely wonderful stuff with the simplest of ingredients. So if you want to, come over and let's watch this. I'm just going to get everything prepped, and then once it's prepped, we'll get started making this beautiful little recipe. All right, let's get some hot water flowing. I want to do some blanching on the tomatoes to get the skin off of them easier.
seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright, and for the first time in a long time I'm alright. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I'm not falling, I'll push all my chips and call all in. I'll bet on myself, you keep stalling. I hear destiny and it's calling. I'll keep my head up high through the downs and lows, and where I'll go in life, still nobody knows. But I'ma choose what's right and take what comes and goes, and ain't no one in life holding me back no more. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. Back a year ago.
Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young and it's just begun as she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild. The afternoon, we lay awake in bed. The laughs so loud as the hours pass. We're gonna do it all again. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, shout from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild.
Alrighty, well, now we got down to the tomatoes, got that all finished. Bunch of garden fresh tomatoes. I mean, my goodness, does it get better? I think not. All right. So in here I have my jalapenos, onion, and tomato, and that's 3 cups of tomato, 3 cups of diced jalapeno, and a cup of diced onion. The onion was also from the garden. And then over here I've got some cilantro. Cilantro, oh, it's absolute necessity when it comes to a good salsa. Pico de gallo, salsa, you name it. Without the cilantro, just not quite the same dish. By itself, I'm not too thrilled with cilantro. It's kind of a bitter herb. But in other dishes, ooh, yeah, it really helps to make certain dishes. So it's supposed to be a couple of tablespoons. That might be slightly over. I don't care. I like cilantro. All right. So, got a little mess here to clean up, but it's not huge.
The best we ever had, and we'll stay young forever. We'll never have regrets. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just 2 hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shot from the top. Running wild, we're gonna be two hearts running
I think that was quite a bit of garlic for salsa. So I'm going to cut back on mine by about yay much, okay? So, just because, like I said before, I understand how much of different things I really like to use and how I like my flavors to come out, okay? So in this case, I'm going to go with about 1.5 tablespoons of minced garlic. Even though it said 5 cloves, they must have been awful small cloves for whoever was making this, okay? Or they just like a really garlicky flavor, and that's okay. But for me, I'm going to adjust it a little. Also, we said, come on Liz, work with me. It said 2 teaspoons of oregano. And frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it's a strong herb. It really stands out in a dish. So I'm going to cut it back to 1, okay? Only because I know how well it jumps up. Now cumin, this stuff is even stronger than the oregano when it comes to pungency, okay? So 1/2 teaspoon, boom, and that is it, okay? Because it'll really take over a dish just super quick. All right, I had to turn on the vinegar there. You know, when you're boiling that vinegar, it kind of gets in the air and it can It can bite a little bit. Anyway, I need to get this, which I have boiled now for 10 minutes. I need to get it down into my jars, and then get those jars right over here into the canner to do some canning. Now I hear it fizzing over here. So maybe, oh yes, it's, ouch, up and ready to go. There we go. So I'm going to let that just sit there and do its thing. Get this into my jars. Now my jars have been preheating back here in hot water. And the idea of that is you just don't want to shock your glass. You don't want it to shatter on you from the heat. Now, one of the things I can mention when you're filling these glasses up, when you're filling your jars, make sure you burp them, okay? That being, get something down in there to get air purged from them. All right, because you can have trapped air down inside of there. You want a 1/2 inch of head space. That would be the space from the top of the food to the inside of the lid. So that little space, as I mentioned before, on the top of the jar, that's pretty important. You don't want to fill it all the way up, because if you do, then you're going to run into a risk of it basically pushing past the cap and compromising the seal that you might have going on there. There we go. There we have it. These are ready to get the lid put on them and put down in there. What I want to do first though is use a little bit of vinegar on a paper towel and just clean off the rim and then lid them up. And that vinegar will just make sure that if there was anything there, that it was cleaned off properly. All right, let's put one lid and one band on each, because you can't get more than that, I guess, right? These things, do not crank them down. Just put them on finger tight. All right, they're hot, hot. You need to get them down into my water bath, and these will need to have at least 1 inch of water over the top of them. There we go. Bring this to a boil again, and once it comes back to a boil, which shouldn't take but too long, that's when I start my timer. The time on this will be, book says 15 minutes. We add 10 minutes for the altitude, so 25 minutes once it starts boiling. There we have it. That's been 25 minutes of a high rolling boil. Now I'm going to pull these things out, set them here to let them cool, and then as they do that, the caps are going to pop. They'll give you a little snapping sound, and that's the cap pulling in and forming a good vacuum. And of course, that if it doesn't happen, then that needs to tell you right there that that particular jar is not one that you want to save. You would want to use it immediately. Doesn't mean you can't use it, it just means you can't save it. All right, so make sure you pull those out, get them cooled down. Alrighty. There we go. Always remember, open any pot away from you, okay? Kind of unsafe not to. Now, often when you'll pull something like this out, there goes one, it just popped. They will have a tendency to, whoop, there we go. They'll have a tendency to still be boiling, and they'll boil for a while, so just be patient with it as it does its own thing, okay? Well, it's the next day. These have now cooled down. Now look at that. That's an absolutely beautiful product. I'm looking forward to trying one of these out. And there's going to be some mineral buildup underneath these rings because of the mineral content in our water here. As you see that, look at that. Disgusting, isn't it? That's the reason I like to use filtered water. I have really good filters. Okay, so anyway, got these gorgeous jars of salsa, and the best part is, I can lift these by the lid. They won't come off. And that is because they are sealed and ready for storage. I'm going to take this one right here. I'm going to store these two. I want to open this guy up. And I wanted to open the one that had the least amount of moisture on top because I think these will do better in storage. So I choose one to open up now. We're going to taste this and see what it's like. But oh man, can't wait. Okay, let's do it. All right, let's open this up, take a look at it. Oh, by the way, this is called a church key. If you've never seen one of these things before, if you're younger, they're what we used to use for opening bottles and other items. They're still useful. Oh, that smells good. Okay, it has the right aroma. You know, and I'm one of those I'm big on salsas. I really am. I like a really good salsa. Because when they taste good, when they come out right, oh, they're just delicious. So let's give this a try. And by the way, here, let's get a good close-up of this. There we go. That's what I'm talking about right there. Really nice looking combination of ingredients. Came across just perfect. So this is something that I am very proud of. I can't wait to taste it and see if there's going to be changes or adjustments I want to make. Let's try this guy out. Oh, it's good. The sweetness of the tomatoes really pops. Nothing like using fresh tomatoes. My gosh, that really worked. Well, one thing I know, I'm going to be making this again. This is good. It's very good. Get that Ball Blue book. Give it a try. Got good information, important information, great recipes. I recommend. So I'm going to be enjoying this, and from this probably developing some of my own recipes designed off of this. And there'll be a lot of consideration about acid balance, and also I'm going to be starting to use calcium chloride, and that I can get in the form of, I think they call it ball pickle crisp. So that's the way to go there. Please enjoy yours. Thank you for watching, and also subscribe, click the like button. These things really help me out, by the way. Click the like button, and if you would, drop a comment below. Always helps. I like to hear from you folks. Still tasting this. And I do appreciate you watching. Thank you for your time. You have a good day, all right?